I was so looking forward to getting turned on. And I was scared too. At 52 years old, I was at my doctor's office with my mom, my wife, my surgeon, and my audiologist. I was really concerned whether or not I was going to be able to get turned on after waiting for 25 years. At 5 years old, I had a mild hearing loss. At 13, I got my first hearing aid. Great technology. I heard my first bird. At 18, I got my second hearing aid. I graduated from high school and went to university. At university, some of the classes had 300 students. And the instructors had the latest technology, chalk and a chalkboard. You know how lecturers talk, they talk to the board. Wah, 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 wah. Did you understand any of that? Well, neither did I, because I was reading lips. I was totally in the dark. I promptly flunked out. At 27 years old, I went to visit my audiologist. Norm, your hearing aids don't function anymore because you are totally and permanently deaf now. Wait, what? Yes, you've lost all of your hearing and you'll never hear again. And if you think you're going to hear again, you'll probably become delusional. I had to ask myself, what should I do with my life? Should I get a menial job and retire in 30 years? Or should I use this as an opportunity to pivot myself? See, I had a condition called positive arrogance. Growing up, my dad had a plaque on his wall. It was a quotation from Napoleon Hill. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Well, I made up my mind I was going to hear again, delusional or not. So I went back to university. I learned American Sign Language. I had sign language interpreters in all of my classes. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in university studies. I also picked up another certificate, a marriage certificate. I married one of my interpreters. We've been married for 45 years now. And we have 4 wonderful kids. I also went further and picked up 2 more college degrees. And one of them was a doctor of chiropractic, all with sign language interpreters in all of my classes too. When I started my chiropractic practice, I had some great technology available to me. One of them was a teletypewriter. What I would do is take the handset from a phone, put it on the teletypewriter. You know that handset goes to the phone, goes to the wall with wire, remember that? And the sound would go into the teletypewriter, and it would be like voice to text nowadays. Great technology. And that's how I communicated with my patients on the phone. When they came into my office, I told them, hey, look, I read lips, and if we have a challenge, I have a portable word processor, a pencil and a piece of paper. It worked every time. Great technology. Always curious about the latest and greatest technology, I went to my audiologist. Norm, do you know that if you get a cochlear implant, you'll be able to hear on the phone again? No way. Yes, way. 30 days later, I was scheduled for surgery. Now, a cochlear implant is an amazing piece of technology. Unlike sound and volume with a hearing aid, a cochlear implant consists of two components. One of the components is an external device. It has a microphone, a computer, and the computer digitizes the sound and sends it up this little wire to a headpiece with a magnet. And the headpiece then sends a signal to a microchip embedded in my skull, or implanted in my skull, with a wire that goes down to the cochlea, hence the name cochlear implant. The signal would go down the wire to the cochlea, and then the brain would interpret the digital signal as sound. So small, but speaks so clearly. I'm wired for sound. Did you know that last year in the US, almost 15,000 adults got cochlear implants? Okay, let's go back to my doctor's office when I was 52 with my mom, my wife, and the other people there. And they were testing, they needed to test my device to make sure it worked fine. So they had a desktop computer with some wires going to the external device here, made some adjustments, and the first sound that I heard was beep. And then they gave me 7 more sounds up the octave. Beep, 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 beep. Did I get 7? 1 more. Beep. And then, after a couple more adjustments, I heard my wife's voice very clearly for the first time without having to read her lips. That was so cool. And then I heard my mom's voice again. And she was so excited, she was crying. Well, I was speechless. Well, after 3 hours of being tested, verifying, making sure everything worked, I had to go to the bathroom. So I stepped out into the hallway and found the bathroom, turned on the light switch. Oh, it's the exhaust fan. Then I had to relieve myself, and it sounded like a fire hose going into a lake. Flush the toilet. It sounded like Niagara Falls. OMG, is this what sound is going to be like for me for the rest of my life, loud and obnoxious? Well, my audiologist reassured me that no, Norm, over time, sounds are going to become more natural. You're going to grow new neurons in your brain, and you'll be very comfortable with the sounds. So I went home, and I had heard clearly the cacophony of my 4 kids. "30 days later, I could understand people's voices on the phone. And for fun, I became a live theater actor, something I always wanted to do. And about 10 years ago, I joined a ukulele band. I discovered something intriguing about hearing loss and technology. According to the Lancet Commission's report on dementia prevention, if we have even a mild hearing loss, we are likely to double the risk of developing dementia or cognitive decline. According to the experts, if we get a properly fitted hearing device and wear it consistently for 6 months, we can partially restore cognitive decline. Now, many of my friends and colleagues would come to me for advice. they would go out and get their own hearing aids, and they would get scheduled for surgical cochlear implants. I became an influencer. Woo! With the advancements of technology, there's hope for people who want to hear again or regain their hearing. I conceived and believed that I would hear again someday, and with the help of technology, I achieved it. You can get turned on with technology too.